All right. Well, it sounds like, or I get the gut feeling that there's a little bit of a problem with regards to working with your pendulums. So I'm going to do a little tutorial on how to look at your pendulums, measure them, and move forward with the information. So let me get my big ugly head out of here. The first thing with pendulums is, of course, they're going to swing. And you're going to, when you release a pendulum, there's the pendulum vertical. You bring it to a side. You release it from rest. And when it swings and comes back to where you released it is one full swing, and the time that it takes is the period. So going from here, that's the period. Now, when you measure this period, you're going to do the time in seconds, but I suggest that when you do the time, you don't just try to time one swing. Let it swing several times. Take the time of that, take that time span and divide it by how many swings you let happen. I'm going to decide on 5 swings. So as soon as I let go, I'd start a timer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd stop my timer, take that time, divide it by 5, and that would be the time per swing. You don't happen to lose a lot of time per swing when it swings back and forth for just a little bit. If you were to let this to go all day, things might start to happen, but in the first couple swings, the swings are generally identical. You especially don't lose any time or motion of the pendulum if you have it taped in such a way that it's not going to rub against the connection point at the top. And obviously you don't want it bouncing into other objects or parts of the table. Now, measuring length of a pendulum is pretty easy because you can measure from where it's hanging to where it's connected. That's the only part of the length that you want to measure. Now, ideally, you're measuring in metric or in centimeters. If you only have a ruler in inches, you're going to have to convert at some point. And 2.54 centimeters is an inch. That's a handy conversion. So you can measure, that length. That's easy. The mass we discussed, that's the mass of whatever coins you have hanging, and I gave you the reference table on that. The angle is going to cause some confusion because I've given you a protractor, or you have a protractor. And right now, as it hangs, I'm going to call that angle 0. Some people are like, well, that's 90 degrees, and I understand it. I mean, I get it. If you took this protractor that I gave you, the paper protractor, or even a plastic protractor, and you were to put it here, or even behind it, you were like, well, it's 90 degrees. But it's not 90 degrees. We're going to call that angle 0. Secondly, when you measure angles, you want to get to the baseline of the angle measurement. So right now, I am not measuring angle. If I started moving this from one side to the other, I would not be measuring angles correctly because I don't have the connection point. I don't have this at the baseline. I should fold it, and what I need to do probably is make sure I extend that little 0 line. I have that little 0 line there. And then I can put that little 0 line right where the table and the pendulum act. Now you might not have a table, but whatever point you have hanging from wherever the pendulum is hanging from, that's where you want that 0 point. And now I can pull it to a side. And if I pull it from 90 degrees to 80 degrees, well, that's a 10-degree swing. It's not 80 degrees, it's 10 degrees, because you want the difference in angle. And if I were to hold it there and let it go, now I'll be swinging through a 10 degrees, from a 10-degree angle. And obviously, that would be much different if I go from 90 degrees to 40 degrees. And so that difference is actually 50 degrees, and I let it go. And it'd be a much wider swing, obviously. As I said in the instructions, I don't want more than a 30-degree angle when this swings. And that would mean from 90 degrees to 60 degrees. No more than that. If you get more than that, the pendulum motion really starts to break down for several reasons. Okay. So I hope that makes things a little clearer. If not, please get in touch with me.